that.
I'm sorry. And my question is, non-distilled spirits, well, it shows Clarkston current 2,000, Clarkston proposed 2,500. That's what I was wondering about. That's $500. Right.
Yes.
So that's all right. So that's not $250?
It's $500. It's $500.
Okay. So I had heard you say 250 across the board.
I went through this. We can detail every one.
Well, I just wanted to.
There's 250 on most of them. As you can see clearly, distilled spirits is not 250. The recommendation is to increase it by $500.
Okay. Well, I wondered about that because you had said 250 across the board, so I didn't hear the 500 part. Thank you.
Okay. Adam's got it for you. No, I yield to. Yield to you.
Okay. I wondered if there was any interest in paring it down so that we don't have so many different types of licenses. And at the very least, combine the beer and malt beverages with the beer, wine, and malt one. And if you want to leave the wine in case we got a wine store in, that's fine. But I'm just curious as to why we need all three of those. And then my other question is on the distilled spirits at the bottom. What does that mean? 15K within the city, 350 outside? If it doesn't mean anything to anybody, can we strike that from the fees?
All right. I'm going to ask the.
Can you explain it?
Yeah, that was discussed. I think that particular setup was discussed at the work session.
Yes, and if I'm recognized, then I think the explanation from the city clerk was that the genesis of that provision had to do with microbreweries.
We don't have any dealers. We only have like wholesalers that are just bringing in like beer and wine. We don't have any wholesalers in the city that are selling liquor.
So,
it would be more.
So it's not applicable now, but it may be in the future. And then on the first question, there, as I indicated last work session, there are currently no applicants who have just wine or beer malt separately. So I think that the councilwoman's suggestion would probably be one that would make sense.
Just to take that a little further, I guess the question is if we have comparable fees for wine, beer, and malt beverages in their separate categories, I don't see any reason that we need to list them as something distinct. I just think for simplicity's sake, for prospective applicants, it's better to say, even if we were to keep it as wine or beer and malt, it's just a matter of structure, but it's essentially, I think it keeps it clear to the regulated public.
I'm sorry, it sounded like two different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you said is not exactly the same thing.
It's not exactly the same, but I think that I can envision that that there could be businesses that came in that wanted to specialize in that, and I think that is something that many of us on council envision, those kinds of boutique sellers.
So that sounds like a preference to keep it like it is.
Yeah, it is. I think that because the fees are the same, I was trying to find some middle ground by suggesting that we just list them as a single line item. Well, the effect would be nothing in terms of the fees, except for the $500. The $500, I think, was the idea. We were talking about the idea of effectively having the benefit of more than one license, and so you have effectively the equivalent of 2 licenses inside of a distilled spirits, because very few sellers focus exclusively on distilled spirits.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Just to clarify and simplify, and then we want to get back to the motion that's on the table. right now, we have a beer, wine, and malt beverage category, and that's $1,000. And so we have a wine-only category, which is $750, and a beer and malt beverage category, that's $750. I think there's, to keep it simple, there's one of two ways to handle it. One is to keep it as it is. Second way is to do away with the wine, separate beer, malt beverage, and just have one beer, wine, and malt beverage for $1,000. Now, the impact on that is, if in the future you do have a establishment that comes in and they wish to only sell wine, the effect will be they will be paying an additional $250 for that privilege.
All right, council. Motion is on the floor. Did you want to say something?
I was just saying, I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay. All right, the motion is on the floor for approval. All in favor to adopt this resolution? 1, 2, 4. All opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the next one. We'll move to new business administration agenda item F1, approve RFQ, City Hall Annex, General Contractor. Ms. Parker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We discussed this at great length at the work session, so I won't go over that same ground. But what I will say is that where we left off last Tuesday was that we had just received the submittals from the firms that were seeking to be pre-qualified to bid on the work being done to restore the historic Morris House and turn it to a Clarkston City Hall Annex. We received 6 requests for, responses to our RFQs. The review committee, which consisted of the architect Rick Zoe, the landscape architect Gio Sluter, the project manager, program manager Larry Kaiser, and the city manager. We've determined that there were 4 qualified firms that would be selected to receive these bids. Those are listed in your memo. Those are Beatty Construction, Remediation Group, Hogan, and McAllen Group. There were 2 firms that did not meet the requirements of the RFQ and were subsequently disqualified to receive bid packages. Those 2 firms were Markers Corp. And Atlantic Incorporated. Per the RFQ requirements, these 2 firms received notification of the disqualification decision. They received that on Wednesday, August 1st, 2012. Each of those 2 firms were granted 7 days to appeal the disqualification, and that time period ran out today at 5 o'clock, and we did not receive any appeals of that decision. And so the next step, the staff is recommending to the City Council that we approve the 4 firms that are listed. Once that approval is granted, then we will forward construction bid packages to the 4 identified firms the week of August the 12th. The firms will be provided 30 days to prepare their proposals and submit a bid. During this 30-day time period, the general contractors will be invited to visit the project site. The city will address any questions from the general contractors during that 30-day period as well. And we will put any questions and responses to those questions on our website. So all the firms will make sure that they are getting the same information. The low bidder will be awarded the contract if there are no irregularities that exist with the submitted bid. However, if the bids received exceed our available construction budget, then we will then negotiate, but we will negotiate with all 4 firms. We're not going to just pick one firm. Now, if we get a low bid, if we get low bids and the lower bidder is within our construction budget, then we'll recommend an award with that firm because we've already pre-qualified it. However, if all of the bids exceed our construction budget, then we would then begin negotiations with all 4 firms. And through that process, we'll come back with a recommended award. So with that, I'm asking for the council to vote to approve the 4 recommended firms.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 4 recommended firms to submit a bid package to.
I need a second. All right, got a motion to second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, motion carries. We move to agenda item F2, approve RFP Civil Engineering Design Services for stormwater improvements. Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we discussed this at length at the work session. That's a not too subtle hint for the public to be sure to come to the work session because that's where all the information, is available. So again, on July 27th, we received 7 proposals for this stormwater design work. And just to back up a little bit, this request for proposal is for engineering design services for 2 stormwater projects that we've identified. One here on East Potts to alleviate some habitual flooding, and the other back here on Rogers right by the terminus of the path, which again, there's habitual flooding there. Staff evaluated the firms in accordance with the procedures identified in the request for proposal. The selection of the highest ranked engineering firm was based on the qualifications-based selection process and not on low bid. The firms were ranked in the following order from highest to lowest, and you see those firms ranked: Stevenson & Palmer Engineering, Rid McDuff Associates, Inc., Moreland Altobelli & Associates, Inc., Fox Environmental, LLC, Integrated Science and Engineering, LAI, Inc., Arcovi, and Sarcor, Inc. Staff has identified Stephen & Palmer Engineering as the highest ranked firm. So in accordance with that, the city manager is asking the city council to authorize me to enter into an agreement with Stevenson & Palmer and to issue a notice to proceed to commence with stormwater design services. Once the city council approves of an engineering firm, then a contract will be developed and the engineering services will commence. All engineering plan development will be completed by November. If easement acquisition is limited, then the project should be let in construction beginning by the end of the year. We anticipate with that time schedule, the actual construction would occur probably by January of 2013 on both projects. And so with that, I'm asking the council to accept this recommendation, authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Stevenson & Palmer for stormwater engineering design services.
Will I have to sign the contract?
Yes, as the charter is currently set up, it calls for the mayor to sign all contracts. Something to look at would be to give the city manager that power and use your
administrative.
Right. We would have to change the charter to do that, and I would recommend that change, but it has not occurred to date. So the contract would require the mayor's signature, would require the council's spending authority, the mayor's signature, and my signature approving the form of the contract.
So that motion needs to include to give the mayor necessary permission to sign that contract. So I need a motion to approve for Mr. Barker to enter into the agreement with the contract and for the mayor to be able to sign.
So moved.
Okay, that's second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed, motion carries. Next on agenda item F3, approve RFP Fashion Resurfacing Contract. Mr. Barker.
Yes, sir. Again, this was an item that was discussed at length at the previous work session. It has to do with some asphalt repair and paving work. Part of the funding will come from the LMIG GDOT funds. LMIG stands for Local Maintenance Improvement Grant. Just to clarify one error with regards to the project limits for Chalmers Court. My previous memo dated July 31st mistakenly defined the project limits as McLaren Drive to the cul-de-sac, when in fact the limits are Ridgeland Drive to the cul-de-sac. Although that error was made, the quantities were correct and as defined, and so the bid package was correct, and so it did not affect the bid numbers, and so we made that correction. We received the bids from the companies that proposed. The bid tabulation should be attached from Stewart Brothers.